Over the first 3 months of this year, Russian forces have slowed their advance and reduced the number of attacks. This was reported by the UK Ministry of Defence on social media platform X, citing intelligence data. According to the report, in 3 months, Russian troops captured 143 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory, an average of less than 5 square kilometers per day. The most significant progress was recorded in March in the central part of Donetsk region. However, Ukrainian forces launched tactical counterattacks which neutralized some of Russia's gains near the town of Pokrovsk.
Russia's rate of advance has dropped month by month since November 2024, when its forces seized more than 700 square kilometers. The level of Russian ground attacks on several axes was reduced through much of March 2025. These began to increase towards the end of the month, but have not resulted in a higher rate of advance. United Kingdom Ministry of Defense. On social network X.
Ukrainian defense forces are not only holding back the invaders, they are also striking military targets inside Russian territory, particularly in the Kursk and Belgorod regions. The goal of these strikes is to prevent further Russian advances and weaken enemy forces on their own soil. Ukraine's commander-in-chief Alexander Syrskyi emphasized that drones play a key role in the modern battlefield. Ukrainian defenders are actively using drones against Russian forces at the front lines. In fact, drones have proven almost as effective as artillery. Syrskyi noted that expanding drone use is helping preserve the lives of Ukrainian soldiers. In March, Ukrainian drone strikes destroyed 10% more targets than in February.
We are continuing to expand both the number and capabilities of fiber-optic drones. Drone systems with a strike range of 20 kilometers are already operating at the front. We are also seeing success in eliminating enemy reconnaissance UAVs of the operational tactical level, using our air defense systems and interceptor drones. About 1,000 reconnaissance drones were neutralized in just 1 month. This work continues. Alexander Syrskyi, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. On Telegram.
Ukrainian drones have proven highly effective on the battlefield. One recent innovation is fiber-optic guided drones, which Russian electronic warfare systems cannot detect. Ukrainian forces are also using spiral-shaped engineering barriers, known as Yegoza, to reinforce defensive positions.
I believe the future belongs to such ground-based systems. They simplify operations across the board. There's still room for improvement, but we're not stopping. The most important thing is protecting our personnel.
Russia cannot sustain heavy losses forever in exchange for minimal territorial gains. Currently, Russian forces are suffering record losses in military equipment. This is why the Russian Federation is now using self-propelled artillery systems like the Koksan supplied by North Korea, further deepening Moscow's dependence on Pyongyang.
Russia is seeing record losses in artillery and mortars. This is confirmed not only by data from Ukraine's General Staff, but also by independent observers and UK intelligence.
According to experts, in the first 3 months of 2025, Russian artillery losses are already approaching the total losses seen in all of 2022. Russia understands it needs to compensate for this shortfall. Musienko notes that this is being done partly by restoring old stockpiles and deploying artillery systems dating back to World War II, which have been repaired and put into use.
Russia's military-industrial complex is functioning, but it's far from the output claimed by Russian state media, which often presents wishful thinking as fact. The reality is that Russia's defense industry simply cannot keep pace with the scale of losses being suffered on the battlefield today.
In 2025, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense plans to deploy 15,000 robotic systems to the front lines. This was announced by the director of the procurement department of the Ministry of Defense, Gleb Khanievsky. These robots are used to evacuate the wounded, transport tons of supplies, destroy enemy positions, and carry out complex tasks, without risking the lives of servicemen. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, Victoria Smirnova, UATV News. Russia is planning a multi-sided offensive along a 1,000-kilometer front, according to the Associated Press. The Kremlin is ramping up pressure on Ukraine to strengthen its position in future negotiations. Putin's goal is not to end the war but to seize more territory.
The move could give Russian President Vladimir Putin every reason to delay discussions about pausing the fighting in favor of seeking more land, the Ukrainian officials said, renewing their country's repeated arguments that Russia has no intention of engaging in meaningful dialogue to end the war. From the Associated Press publication.
Russia is likely to intensify its offensive operations in Sumy and Kharkiv regions, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Moscow had been preparing for this offensive for at least 8 months, but Ukraine's defense forces disrupted Russian plans through operations in the Kursk region. Ukrainian intelligence has already detected signs of large-scale enemy preparations, Zelensky said.
We see their troop buildup. We hear their intercepted communications, and their recorded conversations are of interest. They are speaking Russian and asking, "Why should we go to Sumy? When will this war end?" They are afraid. This confirms that our analysis is correct. They want this. So, what should we do? We are preparing.
Analysts at the Institute for the Study of War believe the Kremlin is using upcoming offensives to get additional concessions from Kyiv and the West in potential negotiations.
Putin also recently told Russian Chief of the General Staff Army General Valery Gerasimov to think in the future about creating a security zone along the Ukrainian-Russian international border, including in Sumy Oblast, from the report of the Institute for the Study of War. Everything Putin is doing is aimed at delaying any possibility of negotiations and postponing any steps toward ending the war.
The Russian military has intensified reconnaissance efforts, seeking to locate and destroy Ukrainian fire positions, drones and other assets that could hinder its offensive. The commander-in-chief of Ukrainian armed forces, Alexander Syrskyi, believes that Russia is aiming to shift combat operations into the Sumy region.
He does not want to stop this war. It's not just about Sumy Oblast. We're also seeing increased activity in Kharkiv and on the Lyman front. The Russians are trying to make the most of the reserves they believe have been freed up after certain battles in the Kursk region. But the one who laughs last laughs best. The Kursk operation is still ongoing.
In recent days, the number of Russian airstrikes on border areas in Sumy Oblast has increased significantly, according to Ukraine's State Border Guard Service. Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups continue attempting to infiltrate Ukrainian territory. Zelensky confirmed that Ukraine's operation in the Kursk region is ongoing, with the primary goal of preventing a Russian invasion of Sumy region.
It's important to note that the Kursk operation has not yet reached its final chapter. The last page of this highly professional military operation has yet to be written. This story continues, and if not the Kursk operation, then something new may arise. We are already seeing ongoing combat engagements in the Belgorod region, where enemy resources are being systematically destroyed.
On March 29th, Ukrainian air assault forces reported capturing 5 Russian soldiers in Kursk region. The prisoners claimed that their commanders tortured subordinates and even executed them for refusing to participate in the so-called meat assaults. Reported by Sergei Kulias, Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.